Hafiz Saeed is like the proverbial cat with 9 lives. He's been in jail or under house arrest for terror activities, but always gets out courtesy the Pakistani government and also the courts. As the army moves to mainstream the jihadis, Saeed will get a chance to present the case for his political party, the Milli Muslim League, before the Election Commission.
Pakistan's legal system moves in mysterious ways. At the last count, they have ordered Lashkar-e-Taiba chief Hafiz Saeed freed from jail or house arrest 3 times in the last few years. Now, they've gone a step further. The Islamabad High Court has directed the Election Commission of Pakistan to hear Saeed's case for registering the Milli Muslim League as a political party. Do remember that general elections are due in July this year, and many non-terrorists want to make their political debut. And there's little doubt that all this is happening with the blessings of the Pakistani army. The plan to mainstream the jihadis comes from the army. The army is seeking more reliable allies in parliament. Jihadis like Hafiz Saeed are key to the army's plans for Kashmir and India. An elected member of parliament also enjoys certain immunities, including from arrest. The court order comes at a time when Pakistan has been cited by the Financial Action Task Force for global terror financing. Pakistani media reports have also referred to studies by the Islamabad-based Center for Research and Security Studies that have laid bare serious deficiencies in Pakistan's financial system. Habib Bank was fined $225 million last year and expelled from the US. Habib Bank had connections with the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Rajhi Bank in Saudi Arabia. The study found Pakistan's banking practices help terrorists and money launderers. Many of these practices are driven by the army's nexus with terror groups. Experts have warned that even if Pakistan is put on the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force, it may not stop the army from backing and funding terror outfits. US threats of cutting aid may matter less these days when Pakistan relies on multilateral donors. Bureau Report, WION.
Joining me on the show right now is Sushant Sareen, a strategic affairs analyst who's speaking with us from Gurugram in the National Capital Region. Sushant, good evening. Thanks for speaking with us. India's used every opportunity at its disposal to bring the world's attention to Pakistan's continued dalliance with terror. But to what end if a global terrorist can still float a party and now receive sanction to go ahead and contest elections?
Well, that's the problem. You see, look at the bizarreness of the Pakistani judicial system. Here is a judiciary which disqualifies a thrice-elected prime minister from even heading a political party because he is not supposed to be Sadiq or Amin or truthful and honest. And then the same judiciary actually allows an internationally proscribed terrorist organization to form a political party as though these are truthful and honest guys, these are nice guys, these are people who have done no wrong, even though they are mass murderers. Now, clearly, it shows the duplicity of the Pakistani state, of the Pakistani judiciary, and the bizarreness of its ways. And this dichotomy between naming a prime minister, even forbidding him from heading a political party, and allowing people, including some of the members of the, the Milli Muslim League or the Military Muslim League, who are internationally proscribed, have been named by the Americans and others as international terrorists involved in money laundering, to allow them to form a party, it's crazy. Now, clearly, this is precisely what India has been trying to, tell the rest of the world, that despite all the cosmetic steps that the Pakistanis take, in reality, on the ground, none of those legislations have any meaning whatsoever. None of those steps which they take have any meaning whatsoever. For instance, Aisha, let me tell you this. 10 years ago, after the Mumbai attacks, the Pakistanis claimed that they had taken over the Muridke facility of the Lashkar-e-Taiba / Jamaat-ud-Dawa. Now, recently, at the time when they were trying to put up this show that they're cracking down on the same proscribed organization, once again, newspapers were plastered with news that the same facility which had been taken over 10 years back is now once again being taken over. Now, what happened in that interregnum? In that interregnum, the Punjab government was actually funding almost 80 to 90 crores every year to that particular facility. So here is a terrorist group which is actually getting money from the Pakistani state. Now, this is the bizarreness of the ways, and then these Pakistanis go to the rest of the world, complaining that, look, we have done everything, we have sacrificed so much. All those lies and that deceit is there for the show for everybody.
Right.
This is where the problem is coming.
And the thing is, Sushant, also, I mean, even let's say people with a moderate understanding of Pakistan, they keep talking about how the judiciary is something to look up to. It's one of those institutions in Pakistan that continues to function without, pressure from the military, from the establishment. But I wonder if that is true, because this is coming after the FATF grey listing. It seems almost as if the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Do you think that this is a problem that plagues Pakistan as well, that there's also this one-upmanship that seems to be going on with the judiciary trying to prove the establishment wrong and vice versa?
No, not at all. In fact, I completely disagree with you. The judiciary is actually the cat's paw of the deep state. The deep state, when it does not want to do something directly, doesn't want the blood on its hands, it has found these judges, many of whom in any decent country, half-decent country, would not qualify to be even clerks in a court, who have now become judges of superior judiciary. You just look at the kind of bizarre judgments these guys have been passing, and it makes you wonder what kind of a judicial system the Pakistanis are running. So, number one, they act as the cat's paw of the deep state. Number two, these are guys, some of them who have overweening ambitions and a certain sort of megalomania, like this current Chief Justice of theirs, who thinks that he's the guy who can sort everything right, and he's gone absolutely berserk, including a former judge who is now heading the Anti-Corruption Bureau. So that is the second problem with the judiciary. The third problem with the judiciary is that the judiciary also acts as a defense mechanism to protect the terrorists. So the general narrative in Pakistan is that this is an independent judiciary. If the judiciary has let go of an international terrorist, there is nothing we can do because it's independent. But this is actually a complete kind of a foil which is being used to explain away, and a shield which is being used to protect terrorists.
Okay, stay with me a while longer, Sushant. Mona Alam, political and international affairs journalist, joins us from Islamabad. Mona, good evening. To start off with, can you just give me your view on the High Court's directive to the Election Commission vis-a-vis Hafiz Saeed's political outfit?
Yeah, thank you for having the Pakistani perspective here. I think there's a huge misperception here, and this is a misinformation that's going out, and I think Indian media has attributed a lot more to it. I would also take the blame on Pakistani media, because there is certainly a misinterpretation here. Firstly, the Islamabad High Court has ordered that the Election Commission of Pakistan, which had earlier refused a registration to the Milli Muslim League, has been asked by the Islamabad High Court not to register this MML, which is a political party and wants to contest the upcoming election, but it has actually asked the petitioner to be given a fair hearing. They only want the Election Commission of Pakistan to give a fair hearing to the Milli Muslim League as to why should it be registered, A. And secondly, the Milli Muslim League had petitioned with the Islamabad High Court, which is, mind you, a civil court. It is not a military court, which the Indian media is very habitual of taunting and criticizing. It is a highly civil court. It is a civilian court, and it has just asked as to why is Milli Muslim League being refused a registration with the Election Commission of Pakistan.
Right.
Because apparently there is no criminal evidence, there is no criminal charges that are substantiated by neither India nor USA and nor the United Nations, as a matter of fact.
All right, let me just ask you this though.
Yeah,
first of all, we've not referred to it as a military court. We've stuck to the fact that this this is a High Court's directive, just
Yes,
that clarification. But I just want to ask you that this does come on the back of the grey listing by the FATF. This comes on the back of mention of the fact that, you know, the European Union is also considering sanctions against Pakistan on account of the FATF grey listing. There's also, of course, the fact that China and Saudi Arabia decided not to back Pakistan at the FATF hearing in Paris. These are, of course, you know, all were the allies of your country. I just want to know that even if it was just about giving a hearing to the Milli Muslim League, was the timing right, considering the kind of, you know, censure Pakistan's been receiving on its association with terrorist organizations?
Well, Pakistan, you've, I think, got a very nice question in here, and Pakistan has a very firm stance as to why this international propaganda is being framed and is being leveled upon the country. Firstly, the FATF, listen, it's from 2012 to 2015 and from 2008 to 2010. Pakistan had anyway been grey listed by the FATF, which I think is a lobby of the US and Indian nexus and nothing more to it, because, you know, the China, which is a strong ally of Pakistan, has been offered the vice presidential position of FATF, and also Saudi Arabia has been made a permanent member following this voting, which took place, the second voting, to be specific in here, which took place against Pakistan on that matter. So Pakistan has been very categorically clear on that stance. Pakistan is indigenous in terms of its domestic usage. Pakistan is indigenous in terms of its economy, and we don't really need that sort of a cushion from international donors, given the fact that we have already bidden a farewell last year to the IMF, and we are not planning any way at all to subscribe to IMF or any world organization to that matter.
Okay.
Secondly, also to this Milli Muslim League, I think things have to be substantiated, and trust me, I would like to reckon on behalf of Pakistani authorities on this matter, that if there is substantial proof against the gentleman under discussion, which is Hafiz Saeed, we would be the very first happy ones to be acting against him. But please be sure that whatever allegations that are leveled against this man, they have to be proven and they have to be substantiated by the Indian side, by the USA, and whatever that's being done in here, Pakistan is absolutely independent in terms of its judiciary.
Right.
It is not hesitant to take any actions. You know, the justice lawyer episode.
Allow me to
that
come in.
has
I'm
occurred
running
in
out
India.
of time. I just want to give
Yes,
Sushant
please,
an opportunity to respond as well. But before I do that, Sushant, I just want to point out a couple of things as well. Let's not forget that the US did push that motion, Mona, at the FATF, but it was backed by countries like France, Germany and the United Kingdom. Also, if by calling it an India-US nexus, you're doing a great disservice to a country like Turkey, which is an ally that spoke up on Pakistan as well.
No, you cannot say that
I'm talking about reports. I'm talking simply about reports about there being a suggestion that the EU is taking cognizance of the grey listing, a third grey listing by the FATF to Pakistan. Well, that's an interesting. I'm allowing you to make your point. I'm just making my own. Sushant, if you'd like to respond to some of the allegations that Mona has made, for instance, on the FATF being an India-US nexus.
I'd also like to hear Sushant.
Yes. Mona, please. Sushant didn't speak up. Mona, Sushant didn't speak up even once when you were speaking. Please allow him the same courtesy. Sushant, go ahead.
No, see, you know, this kind of grandstanding which this lady is doing, I think it's, you know, it's kind of partly denial and partly delusion. Now, if Pakistan is such a hip and happening place, it's indigenous, as she says. I don't know what it is indigenous in. Even a needle is imported in Pakistan. But if it is indigenous, then what was this great breast beating which has happened in Pakistan about this great failure and how Pakistan could end up getting isolated, even be put in the blacklist of the FATF, number one. Number two, this whole nonsense about this is propaganda. The fact that an internationally proscribed organization under the UN has not only been operating in Pakistan openly and flouting all the three conditions, which was of money, which was of travel, and which was of weapons. All those three conditions have been violated by Pakistan with complete disdain for the international community's mandate. Because look at the kind of guards which this fellow keeps, Hafiz Saeed and the other goons of this organization keep. Look at the kind of empire they have built over the last 10 odd years, 10, 12 years. a virtual empire, which is probably one of the biggest conglomerates or social entrepreneurship endeavors, because this is what social entrepreneurship is in Pakistan these days. Look at the kind of people from the Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Philae Insaniyat Foundation, who have traveled to places like Philippines. Their fingerprints have been found out there. Right. The Indonesians have complained about them. The Bangladeshis have been complaining about them. The Burmese have been complaining about them. So where is the travel ban? To say that everything else was hunky-dory and this was just mere propaganda and the whole world just fell for propaganda and could not see what is there on the ground in Pakistan and the kind of deception which Pakistan does. You know, how does one argue against this kind of a mindset? Sure. I don't see how any rational argument can be made with these people.
All right, Sushant, I think you're going to lose your cool very soon. I want to interject before that happens. Mona Alam, very quickly, I just want to ask you something. Let's leave everything aside. Let's leave India's contentions about Hafiz Saeed aside. Let's leave the UN, the US. As a Pakistani citizen, I saw your Twitter profile. You call yourself somebody who is a secular Muslim Pakistani journalist. I want to ask
Alhamdulillah.
I want to ask you, would you be happy knowing that Hafiz Saeed is a politician in your country, somebody who's been given sanction by the country to work with the citizens of your country? Would that make you happy?
Right. Listen, for the sanctions that you're talking about, I think this dual standard has to be killed and this duplicity on that matter must die, and more so in terms of India. You care about sanctions placed by the UN when it comes to Hafiz Saeed. Why wouldn't you care as much for the UN resolutions that have been passed for Indian Army's atrocities in Indian occupied Kashmir?
Mona, see, this is my problem. This is my problem with bringing on a guest from Pakistan, because I've read so many pieces from journalists in your country who have decried what the status that is being given to Hafiz Saeed and organizations. Right. I don't know why you can't be candid when you come to a channel. Just because I'm headquartered out of India doesn't mean that this isn't a space or a platform for you to be candid about your opinion without bringing in the United Nations resolution on these alleged atrocities by the Indian Army. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to wrap up the discussion on that note. I wanted your candid opinion on something else, but there's completely come out of time on the discussion. Mona Alam and Sushant Sareen, thank you both for speaking with us this evening.